What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to have a discussion about Max and her new powers in Life is Strange Double Exposure. So I promised to do a couple more deep dive videos, and trust me, actually, I got a lot in the old noggin up here. So I want to talk specifically about why she is using the powers, what I would like to see, the risks and rewards of that stuff, okay? This, to me, feels very important. And I don't know if I speak for everybody in the Life is Strange fandom, but to me it feels very important that when you look at this new game, great to see Max. Great to see, hopefully, some love and respect to, in my opinion, the best Life is Strange game, Life is Strange 1, okay? But there's also lore and story and things, to me, that are very important. Very important in Life is Strange, very important to me. I need some things to be right. I need a proper ending, and we'll talk about like what would go into an ending. These are all videos I kind of want to make. But one thing that I think of very early on, because it's going to be early on in the game, why does Max use her powers? Now, some of that is completely like we will not know until the game comes out, right? We've gotten a little bit of hints of maybe what triggers her powers, but we don't know fully, right? So what triggers her powers? How her powers are going to work, but to me, more importantly, why does she use them? This, to me, is one of, I should really write these down, maybe one of like the top 5 questions I have, and maybe we could do a video just on that, but it's one of the top 5 questions I have for this game. I need to know, based off of Max as a character and the lore of Life is Strange 1, now to Double Exposure, why is she using her powers? Because this, to me, is about preserving Max as a good character. This, to me, is showing you can take a character and a story and continue to evolve it. You're not bringing it back as a cash grab. You're not bringing it back just to bring back the character and do whatever the heck you want with it. I don't think they're doing that, but these are, you can say that, oh, we're not doing it. To me, actions speak louder than words, especially when you're making a video game. The actions of the game will speak louder than what the developers are saying. I need the right choices being made. Sounds pretty strict, but let me kind of walk you through it, okay? So my main thing really comes down to Max Caulfield knows what happens when she uses time powers. Now, it's a different time power, but she knows what happens specifically to her when she uses, or her and those around her, when she uses those powers, okay? So one thing I will say is based off what we have seen so far, I feel like it's fine in terms of her taking the picture, of the moon, and then all of a sudden, getting dizzy, and something triggers it, right? Whether it's Safi being shot, like, right in that moment, whether it's some sort of, like, a nature type thing, like some sort of, like, supernatural nature thing, right? Something triggers something, seemingly the reactivation of her power, right? Because, what we know from the behind-the-scenes stuff is she kind of shuts it all down, and, she goes into hibernation mode, and because of that, the rewind power gets lost, and it eventually morphs into something more useful, really, for the current time that she's in, right? I like that explanation, and I also like the idea that the reignition, I guess, right, of her powers is not under her control. That's all fine. And another important thing to throw out in this, this part of the video and just this video in general, I don't need to know, nor do I want to know why her powers exist in the first place, or even what triggers it. You can get hints, right? Like taking a picture of the sky, you could maybe make some theory videos, right, off of it, but you'll never know for sure unless they tell you. And that's something I want to keep that way. I think they've done really through all of these games, but if we're just looking at Max, now it's twice, they've done a really good job of like, why did a hurricane even happen? Like, what's the cause of it? And you can theorize and speculate, but you don't know legitimately. Why did the rewind power start in the first place? Was it some sort of like a supernatural type thing? She's reaching out, right, to save Chloe, somebody that she cares about and loves, and, that just something activates inside her. I know I've seen people talking about like a Marvel type thing, right, with like mutants, where they always have had this power, and it's kind of just like being waiting and wait to be activated. It's just waiting inside Max to all of a sudden just one day happen. That's fine. Like any of those reasonings, perfectly valid. I don't need to know. So let me be clear of like what I'm asking for and what we're talking about in this video. I don't need to know why her powers reactivate. I don't want to know them at all, right? You can theorize it, or they can kind of hint at it, and maybe they know the answers, but they'll never say. That's how I want it, right? So if it's something with the moon, if it's something with Safi being shot, or, whatever it might be, that's fine. But one thing I really want them to be careful of is they need to give a good reason, and I've hinted at this in past videos. They need to give a good reason for Max using the powers in the first place. This, to me, affects the core of Max. This is something that I think would make her a weaker character or a better character, depending on which path they choose. Because, if you remember the first game, right, it was a lot of, like, not understanding what was going on. She had hints of, like, the future that was coming, and it got more clear as time went on, and you could also see it reflected in the world, right? Like, certain things would happen, and it would be snowing and all that stuff, right? Like, those kind of things were kind of like trigger warnings almost, right? But she didn't know for sure kind of towards the end. And when she's experimenting with her powers, well, number one, she's a young kid. I mean, not like a literal, like, 10-year-old, but she's younger, right? Also, Chloe and her kind of presence, right? It was, at times, fun and games. It was, let's see what you're able to do. It got to the point where she had to freaking save Chloe from getting hit by a train. It got to the point where they were messing around shooting bottles and Chloe shot herself, right? And Max had to do it. But it stemmed from curiosity. It stemmed from them kind of being younger and immature, so they were just messing around. Like, they didn't know. Now, there was still some restraint, but there wasn't too much, right? That's all fine. I mean, I think those are important themes and important things that happen in the first game that make it very special. You can't do that again here. Max is older, and I don't know if it's ever actually been confirmed that she's 28, and this is 10 years after. I feel like that thing comes out, and they back off it, then it comes out. So, okay, but if she's 28, right? If it's 10 years after Life is Strange 1, which I do think it is, and I think that makes sense, she needs to have a little bit of maturity. She needs to have a little bit of knowledge that number one, I mean, in terms of what we were just talking about, there is no training period where you're shooting bottles. Now, she might need to understand how this multiversal travel works, right, with opening portals. She will have to maybe experiment with that. Okay, that's fine, but you need to keep it away from more of like the childish, like, they're kind of just messing around. And why? Why? Well, you could say maybe the age, but hey, if you could go through portals and go into different dimensions, you and I would probably have some fun with it as well. But here's the kicker. She needs to know that this is a serious thing. And she needs to recall and connect the past. That is, to me, the most important thing. They need to have the greatest answer in the world for why she uses this power the first couple times. And what I mean by that, maybe not necessarily the first, because what I could see them doing, based even off the gameplay that we saw, I could see it being an accident. I can see it literally just happening, where she reaches out and she literally like touches a portal. Nothing she can really do about it. It's kind of the power coming out of her. You know what I mean? Just like, she takes the picture and she gets dizzy, and eventually, she takes the other picture of the owl and she passes out, right? That's out of her control. So that's fine. And I actually think that makes it more mysterious. That makes it more serious. That makes it cool. So, okay, that's fine. The first time she uses her power, or when the power literally triggers inside her, don't need an explanation for, and don't need hey, she should know better. Not necessary, because she doesn't know better, and it's just happening. She's not in control of it. But when she's starting to go and solving this murder, it cannot be, to me, it cannot be as simple as, my friend died, I need to bring her back to life. I know she's alive in a different dimension. I'm going to open this portal. And that, to me, is not good enough. It flat out isn't good enough because of her past. Because that this story is... Now, does she know? That's the difference between, I guess, us as a player and her as a character. But follow me along here. We know that there's more to this game than just a murder, detective case. Is that fair to say? I think a lot of us would assume there's something else going on. Just like in the first game. Searching for Rachel was a big thing. But there was, as we saw immediately, there was more going on. There were repercussions, for the actions that Max was taking. We know as players that that's probably going to happen again in some other way. So you could say, well, Alex, that's us, that's not her. But here's the difference. This is not the first game in her story. This is not the first time we've ever seen her. This is not the first time she's gone through these things. See, a lot of that stuff in movies, in television, in games, you can dismiss. And you could say, well, we're the players. We know more than the main character. It's okay for them to be a little, whether it's dumb or whether it's just unaware. They're unaware of things that we're aware of because of the divide. But the difference is she's not unaware. She's done it before. So that would be my argument, right? Where if you say, Alex, well, she doesn't know any better, or she's unaware of the situation. No. She's unaware, I guess, of this situation, but she's seen it before. So that, to me, like I said, in terms of like a top 5 questions or 5 things the game's... I'm a man of like 5s, right? But if I think of the things that this game needs to do the most and kind of hitting on specific... Like, It's easy to say I want the game to be good. Well, what do I mean? I'm actually trying to give like a legit example, right? This is something to me that I feel is very important. I need a reasonable reason why she uses the power. And I think, and I've said this before, I think I theorized it even in the live stream I did on Life is Strange. I think it needs to be forcing it. I think somebody or some situation needs to force her to do it the first couple times. Now, maybe the first time, legitimate time, is an accident. She doesn't mean to do it, right? But as soon as she does it once, I'm going to need a reason why she does it again. Because it's okay to do it once if you didn't mean to. But you know, based off your experience, depending on which choice you made, you killed an entire town because you were messing around with time. Now, again, I think that's what makes Max an interesting character. I think that's part of what makes Life is Strange 1 a very serious and amazing game. But she knows that. She knows what happens when you mess with time. And this is still messing with time. It's actually now different dimensions, right? There's consequences. So I'm going to need her to really, and this is what I would like. I would like her, even though this is kind of counterintuitive to how I act with like certain movies and stuff, I want her to shut it down. I want her to use the power once and then say no. And I want in the game there to be like 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever it is, a length of time where she flat out refuses to use that power. That to me would be good. That to me, that I guess that's literally what I'm asking, right? Where she uses the power, she recognizes that it's cool, she recognizes the potential of what she can do with that power, but then she thinks about it and says, no, it's not worth it. And also because I think that would just diminish the first game. If she's going to be willing to do this to save Safi, well, what the heck? Like, number one, well, depending on your choice with Life is Strange 1, you might have not saved Chloe, but you're going to save Safi. And number two, you could think, I literally did that. I saved a character in Life is Strange 1, and a town was just, hundreds were killed. You're going to do that again? And you know what caused that town to be killed. They didn't all just drop dead. In a way, you caught, now, again, a little bit out of her control, but she knows the powers are linked to some sort of natural, phenomena. So she needs to know that. And I think she should. She should know it. Whether the game allows her to know it, that's left to be decided, right? But that, to me, I think is very important. I need her to kind of shut it off and say, no, I'm not using this power. I know I have this power now, but I'm not using it. And then how she uses it right after, I need it to be out of force. I need somebody to force her to do it, or I need a situation to force her to do it. She should not be experimenting for fun. She shouldn't be saying, whatever, I'll save Safi, worry about the consequences later. She seems too mature for that. She's always been a smart character. She's always been somebody that kind of does look at like a larger picture. She shouldn't even do that in the first game. But now she's had the first game to reflect on. That shouldn't even be in her mind. So that, to me, very important. You let me know. Maybe it's only me that thinks that, but hopefully I speak for more than just me. Let me know what you think. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.